Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our workshop today on the E-Zone. City Commission opportunity to discuss some issues here, and wanted to welcome everyone that's watching and here in person. With that, I'll turn it over to the City Manager who will frame our presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to give you a little bit of a refresher, back earlier in the fall we had proposed some changes to the E-Zone, and I suggested that we bring back these changes and have a workshop over the issues, give the Commission an opportunity to kind of review those documents and then flush out any questions that might come about as a result of that, of what had been provided. And I think you have a memorandum outlines and captures the key elements and what they want to do. We got two sections. One is the Main Street Redevelopment Plan, and Reed Berger is going to outline and go through that with you, and any questions he'll be happy to address. Then the large-scale comprehensive plan amendment, the E-Zone master plan, Rich Walden's going to go through that with you, and they have PowerPoints that they're going to share with all of us as we do that. Mr. Mayor, I would like to ask Reed Berger to begin, if that's okay.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Commissioners, Mr. Chisholm, Mrs. Thomas. I wanted to make sure that we kind of go back to where we started in the summer, and just I don't want to walk you through all of this. I'm going to try to be very brief, and I think Mr. Chisholm's covered the points quite well in terms of what we're trying to do today. And the main thing that we're going to do with the Main Street Redevelopment Plan, which is the first item, is to go over the just a couple issues. In your packet, we put in the red lines, and I know you mentioned you'd like to have the black line too when we get to the next meeting on February the 15th. That we will do. Again, we want to hear if there's anything else that you have a question about or concern, and we can address that as well. But hopefully that red line, the notes at the bottom, are helping you to get the connection between trying to take items from the E-Zone master plan and to incorporate it. You know, the whole point behind this is to try to create that consistency with these revisions that are coming up with the comprehensive plan, as well as the land development code, and make sure that they all match up. That's something that we're required to do. In addition to clarifying the removal of the parking, I want to also point out a couple things that were in there. I think first was the Main Street parking issue. We did address that after that was brought up, and took out a deletion about no parking. So that has been handled in the draft that you have. The second item is the that we want to take that traffic circle that's there and put it back in. That was consistent with the plan. I know it was recommended one time to remove that, but the language has been changed to put it back in. The planning board agreed with that as well, so hopefully you might consider that as one change. The second one is that the historic preservation, we had that study that was done by Mr. Weaver. That was a significant structures that he identified, and I think that's one that's important that we address as well, because what it does is it really zeroes in on the map that was provided in the plan. It's an exhibit map, and I think that helps to clarify what our focus is. With that, I completed my part, and I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Whitenauer, unless you have some questions right now. Very good. Tom?
Thank you, Reed. Good evening, good afternoon, Commissioners. Tom Whitenauer, Planning Division. The second document that we want to amend to integrate the E-Zone plan is the comprehensive plan. Later there'll be amendments to our land development code. I'd like to remind commissioners that among numerous other purposes the comprehensive plan or comp plan provides, it's a policy document to guide the location of land development throughout the city and provide the types of future development allowed in each area. This is done through an adopted future land use map and corresponding regulations. Rather than replace or amend the land use map, what we're doing with the E-zone boundary is an overlay. It's a common planning practice. Most overlays are mandatory, meaning it's in addition to your underlying zoning. In this case, this overlay is optional. Property owners and developers have the option to use the streamlined permitting, yet higher standards as far as building architecture and public landscaping and some other things that are included in the E-zone plan. It's going to provide an improved balance of flexibility, predictability, and most importantly, we're told from developers, a more streamlined permitting process. For the city, it will give us better results than our current land uses and regulations have produced. Mayor Ritchie, as you see and have heard in the E-zone plan, is quoted as saying, developing and revitalizing this area has been a priority for the city and the county for 2 decades. We need to do things differently if we want different results. Why are we amending our comprehensive plan? One answer is to commit to property owners and developers that the city means business. You are making a concrete commitment to pursue an innovative approach to help revitalize this area. There are plenty of other studies that sit on shelves and have never even been integrated into the comprehensive plan. But you're serious about this, and that's one show of it. Another answer is it provides the legal foundation to later adopt implementing regulations into our code to carry out the permitting process for development in this area. What are we amending in the comp plan? 2 main things. One, the future land use map now, it's citywide. You fold out, and if you did an overlay on the E-zone, it wouldn't even appear, it's so small. So we're just providing an enlargement of that area. And then in some strategic locations, we're referencing the E-zone plan where land uses are described. We're adding in so developers will see when they look us up online, get hold of our comp plan, that there's something innovative available for developers to research and consider using. What I want to do very quickly now is run through slides, and I know these were in your packages, but to just compare and contrast how the existing land use map has dictated what you have today, which is, as you have stated, not the desirable pattern of development, compared to what the E-zone plan is going to encourage. The boundary of the E-zone plan is in your packet. The land use that exists now, it's primarily one story throughout the area. The animation that was scrolling as you entered the room had ACOM's sort of creative forms and images. To focus in on one area at the corner A1A and Main Street, what you have now, the future land use just says it can be retail and it has a floor area ratio, meaning you can extrude it up to 4 stories retail, and you get what you require, square strip commercial development. That's not what we want to continue to see in that area. The way to change that is to alpha and overlay, more colors, you might say, more choices, more mixed uses, and then start to look at 3-dimensionally how it works. So when you extrude it up, you're actually adding some more regulations, but they're predictable. Developers are used to seeing these kind of things, and it gets the uses you want. So to extrude those up, I'm going to just run through these. These all those stars were things in addition to the basics that our current regulation has. These are just color coding. Don't let the color scare you, but it says to have a couple of stories of retail on the bottom in this particular corner, hotel above. It's got a height limit. There's parking, must be behind, hidden, and then some surrounding and smaller office mixed uses. And you get different results. In this case, this is a sketch, a concept sketch from the ACOM E-zone plan, which is would fit right into the regulations they have. So what we're doing, we're sort of changing the way we're doing business, offering them an option, and the results are much different. This is Cruise In Cafe on the left, and then what could be built under the E-zone plan on the right. The E-zone plan on the right could be built much faster as far as permitting if they developers choose to follow this. So that's kind of a summary of to remind you what we're doing here. The next steps, February 15th is the time we'll be coming back to ask you to take action on the comprehensive plan amendment. Then we ship it off to the state agencies, get the comments back. June 20th is when we expect to have you adopt the amendment. The February 15th is when you just give us approval to transmit it. June 20th is when you adopt it. And by the end of July, we should have state approval to go ahead and adopt implementing regulations. So we can take questions now, and that's the purpose of today, to let you ask questions. Thank you.
Questions, please?
If I may go back to Reed's presentation. Just refresh my memory, what the pros were of having the circle
Okay.
versus just the...
Sure. The benefits of a roundabout, and again, it doesn't apply everywhere, but roundabouts are from Washington, D.C., where not the city, but all of the studies that the Federal Highway Administration, others have conducted, show that they can be a much safer and efficient way to move traffic around. I was surprised when I first heard this, and all of the research is now leading to that kind of conclusion, that it makes the traffic in a number of cases move more steadily, and yet bicyclists and pedestrians, as well as the cars, see a better safety record. And again, it all comes down to design, but and you can see that this particular design creates a really fantastic look to that area, as well as seen by some of the buildings there and what might be done with plazas. You're welcome.
Reed, does that in any way, I mean, there's different entities involved in that. There's the DOT, there's just so many people that would have to be involved in that process. Pretty cumbersome, I would think. And the devil is in the details, as they say, so the design is going to be critical. It would be interesting to know what investors in our community in that particular area think about it as well. So, can you speak to the time that you would foresee if we decided to move through with a traffic comma or a traffic circle in that location, the time would be required to get it approved?
I really don't have a timeline on approval. I don't think there is a...
Mr. Mayor, it'd be years out. Yeah. This is not something that happened right away. It would occur as the plan begins to mature and be implemented, along with, the improvements within the district itself. It would not be something you just go do, before all that. There's a lot of infrastructure that has to be in place, and that'd be part of that effort. And
that was going to be my last comment. It would be a costly situation as well.
Yeah. You wouldn't do it unless you timed it with other projects that are going in the area that's going to be, revenue generators and activity generators. Just to do it, on its own right now, we probably would not do that. In the permitting part of that, it's going to be more than permitting. It's going to be permitting and securing the funds, and all that's going to be federal highway as well as state highway systems. So it's not something we're going to be able to control totally on the local level in the end.
I didn't think that much about it. I was in Clearwater. I go to a state conference every single year, and as we started talking about this, I realized as you come across the bridge in Clearwater Beach, the main drag, it's a traffic calmer. And I was like, wow. And so I went on my balcony and, took a lot of pictures as we were starting the E-zone process, and paid attention to the traffic. And they actually have quite a bit of traffic, because that's where I was, the only way in and out of Clearwater Beach. So it was busy all hours of the night, and it flowed. And yes, it's true, the pedestrian, the bicyclist, could get around. But I didn't see too much of a lull, and it worked. And I could handle it, getting in and out. and it was right there at the Clearwater Hilton is where, right as you did. And actually, it's kind of similar to what we would have when you come across the bridge in the Calmer, you look out and the pier's there and the playground area and the concessions, it's all right there. And it's very visually appealing as you come into Clearwater Beach. So obviously, it can work and be done. In our case, it's built out and it would have significant costs. But I saw an example of something where it seems to work very well.
I remember on the base of the Mason Avenue Bridge when I was young, they had one for years, and it seemed to work. I mean, it was,
They're all over Europe as well.
yeah, so.
In the Northeast, too. You go up around the Northeast, they're all over up there, too.
If they put traffic lights in Paris or Rome, it'd be a monumental traffic jam. It does actually facilitate movement. It keeps things moving. It's sort of out of our control. It sounds like a real good idea, but with all the entities involved, that was. I'm not against it.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot more to think about, and I don't know what our investors would think if someone wanted to build a hotel in that corner. Would they want to? Maybe they would. I don't know. Just some questions.
I know when we started looking at it with the consultant, we had discussions with Florida Department of Transportation, and they were very excited about the project. They thought it was a good solution to some of the traffic issues we'd encounter as the community continues to grow there, and they really looked at it in a positive light.
Thank you.
Actually, Rita, on that, there's insufficient right-of-way to do this now, correct?
Correct. You need to acquire, but again, going back to Mr. Chisholm's comment, you really do this usually in conjunction to what is happening around it. You're seeing, again, the buy-in from the development side to do this, because it creates a very improved intersection at that location.
And I agree. I mean, I think it's a nice idea, but, without shifting A1A to the east, you're talking about eminent domain on 4 different private property owners, which is not something that goes over well in this community. And
But Rob, we didn't say eminent domain. You might have somebody that owns a property that's willing to work with you on it if a new development's going in. That's what I've heard everybody say.
that would be a possibility. I think it would be very remote, but I think it is possible that you could get, you would probably have one corner tied up with, say the northwest corner for a hotel project, to use the diagram that we had, displayed. So you've got 3 others. So you're probably going to have one that's going to have automatic buy-in. The other 3, this community has a history of holding the gun to the head of government to say, give me $1 billion or you're going to have to take it. And, it's, unfortunately, that's, it's not everywhere. I mean, that happens everywhere. When the state does road widenings, the county does road widenings, and the law is that the government pays for their legal fees, so why not challenge it? So, but I'm just, it is far out in the future, but I got to be, in my opinion, that's probably the most unrealistic element within the entire plan. I would love to see it. Don't get me wrong, but and I'm certainly fine with changing the plan to allow it to be a possibility. But I'd hate for us to really expend any real effort on that when there are so many challenges related with that particular initiative versus some of the other ones that may be a little easier to get off the ground.
Keep in mind, this is a state and federal road. It wouldn't be a local road for the city. It would be that'd be part of their element of this project. It would be fall in the hands of the state, and probably the state primarily.
Okay, thank you, Reed.
And can we clarify that we're asking to put it in the comp plan, right? So just because we put it in the comp plan doesn't mean we're going to do
Right.
it. It just means that it's there if we need to do it or want to do it, right?
If you've seen the document, she's read it. I've read your comments, your 4-5 comments on you read it. But the EZO plan, and the comp plan, we're not actually putting it in, we're referencing it as a document, similar to how we do a few other documents. So that's how we're...
Right, but
We're doing-
if we put it in the comp plan, if it isn't in the comp plan, it's going to be hard to go back and do it if we decide to do
That's
it.
right.
But if we put it in the comp plan and magic happens and everyone wants to sell their property and build the hotels, then we can do it. So all we're doing right now is putting it in the comp plan.
Correct. And you see how long it takes to get in the comp plan just to start with.
Right.
So you want to get it in position, so you have these options to discuss in more detail later and move on.
Thanks.
That's right.
That's it. Any other questions? Because it's going to come to you at your next, what is it, the 15th? February the 15th, it'll be on your agenda for an action item, and we just wanted to...
reading in it, and it's...
So, second reading? For transmittal, right. So all we were doing today is really making sure anybody had questions, we had a chance to address them, and then there are no surprises when we move forward.
And I want to compliment the city manager for he's the one who pulled this and had this workshop, because we wanted to make sure everybody was clear and if any questions that were out there that the commission might have were answered. But it will be a public hearing at our next meeting. And anyway, Reed, thank you, and thank everyone involved here for a good update. But as it moves through the process, to Kelly's question earlier about if you put it in there and request that, just so everybody understands this, it's not our road, but who would do, I don't think eminent domain is allowed anymore.
Public
Or something like that. But that would be something, at that point, would the state take that on?
That'd be a state
to do all of that?
Yes.
And, Mr. Mayor, if I could, I think we got to get in the habit of, as we're making these types of changes, that we notify the county of what we're doing, because they're going to be partners with ours on a lot of these initiatives, and, really it's just informational, but, if we don't tell them anything, they're going to think we're sitting here doing nothing, and, we're still pushing on this pretty hard at this point, and I know they've got a lot of interest as well, and I've seen some comments, and I heard some comments from the folks both out of, Deneen and his office and staff and the county council, and, I think we've got a little momentum now, and I'd just like to make sure we continue.
We'll get a report to them on 7 minutes, actually. So, any other questions or comments?